Hello, everyone, and welcome to my session on Social Media Saves Event. I love that title. It sounds like social media is a hero, which it is. I'm Sabrina Myers, and I'm an online visibility expert with over 16 years experience in the events and hospitality sales industry. I specialize in social media and content marketing and strategy, and I support brands and businesses in the events industry to leverage the power of social media in order to optimize and maximize their online awareness, engagement, and growth. And I'm thrilled to be here delivering this session at the Cadence Collective. And I hope that you will walk away from this session with value on how to integrate social media into your event strategy and make it the secret sauce to its success. Now, just a few things. The most important point I would like everyone to leave here with today, after today's session, is that social media is very powerful, effective, and efficient if you use it as a tool with a specific purpose and intent for your events as a long-term strategy. Now, in itself, the world of social media can be very overwhelming, I know. And most times you might question its use. Do we need it? As well as its effectiveness. I'm not sure it'll work for us. And in both cases, I can guarantee you it's because you're not using it as a tool with the right strategy and a clear plan in place. Now, in itself, the world of social media is very, very tedious. We're talking about data and analytics, right? But we live in a data-driven world right now. And so I'm here to give you a little bit of data on that, because of course I have to. Now, 60% of the world's population is now online. That's pretty mind-blowing in itself. And from a social media perspective, in a report that's put together annually by a creative digital agency called We Are Social, as well as digital marketing leader Hootsuite, which probably many of you have heard of if you are in the space of scheduling your social media posts. They're a very popular one. The number of social media users has increased by an average of more than 1.4 million each day over the past 12 months. Now, these are statistics from their quarterly report that was done year to date, April 2021. So very, very recent, very, very relevant, very now. And that's equal to basically 16.5 new users every single second, which is 55% of the world's population. So think about that. What that data shows to me is that social media is the opportunity to have access, reach, and conversations at a really impressive scale. Now, you can use it to speak to one person, but also to so many. I mean, imagine having that power at the end of your fingertips. Lucky for you and lucky for us, we do. Now, we all have that power. And I am a bit of a superhero nerd, especially Avengers. So there's a famous line from Spider-Man that with great power comes great responsibility. So we have a responsibility to use social media with purpose and intent for whatever your product or service or event might be, which is why a customized strategy is so, so important. Now, it's key that your social media strategy for events ties in with your overall social media strategy and marketing and communication plan. Now, what I mean by this is you can't just plug it in. It cannot be, and it won't be effective if it's just a one-off action. You will not get the results you want, and you will not achieve your objectives and goals if you only focus on integrating social media into your event's marketing and communication plan for just one event. This is a long game. And in order for it to work, you need to plant the right seeds, meaning you have to pick the right platforms. Then you have to water with the right type and mix of content so that you can grow and nurture a community that's going to plug into your events and skyrocket engagement when you have them. And that's how you can use social media in the best way possible and make it your secret sauce. You might hear me mention that a few times in this session, but hey, that's just me. And I love those two words together. So for the next few minutes, I'd like to talk to you about how social media is the opportunity and tool that you can use to do three things. The first one is raise awareness. The second one is drive engagement. And the third one is to build and grow a community for your events. So the first one is raise awareness. Now, in order to raise awareness, you need to be visible where your attendees are. So here are a few tips. The first step is identifying which social media platforms they are present and active on. Nowadays, people don't just use one platform. It's usually a mix of 2 to 3. So they might be on LinkedIn and Instagram, or Instagram and Twitter, or Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, whatever that combination might be. So you need to identify which ones they are on. And then this will then allow you to identify what your power platform mix will be for your events. Now, there's no point having a strategy and a plan to use a platform because it's popular. Oh, we got to use Clubhouse because everybody's on Clubhouse. But if your audience is not on Clubhouse, your target audience and the people that you're hoping to attend your event, it's no point. It's completely useless. So if you have a social media strategy in place for the company, your brand, or your organization already, you can already study the analytics to see where your audience is more active in terms of platforms. And the key questions to ask are, where are they engaging more? Where are they commenting, liking, sending messages, and interacting most with the content that you are making and posting? Now, secondly, one of the best things about social media is that, and what it allows it to be a very powerful marketing tool, is its shareability factor. Now, you can share content across a ton of platforms. You can share blog articles as tweets. You can share TikTok videos to virtually any platform that I know of. You can share reels to your LinkedIn stories or to your Twitter fleets. There's so much versatility. And you can repurpose your tweets, for example, into Instagram posts. So it's important to understand how you can share the content and repurpose between platforms, because then it will allow the content that you create to be distributed across a wider audience and a wider network, meaning you're going to have a lot more reach. So the third point is invest in engaging influencers for your event. Don't roll your eyes when I mention the word influencer. I know it has a bad rap nowadays, but honestly, in most cases, what I mean is that these would be your speakers and some more influential attendees that are well known in their respective communities, and they have an influence. They're already thought leaders in a certain space. They're already very engaging. They have a community that they've already cultivated and is engaging and plugged into. So you need to invest in these influencers for your event. Now, word of mouth has always been powerful, and social media is basically digital word of mouth. So if you can identify the right social media influencers or influencers that are visible online in that space for your event, then you can raise awareness for this event and potentially engagement quite a lot. And lastly, use a mix of owned, earned, and paid media. Now, if you don't know the difference between the three, I'll break it down very simply, because it's nice to have organic traffic and awareness and engagement, but you could also kind of have a little bit of workaround and get that extra support. So owned media is basically any kind of social media platform that you own yourself. So your own Instagram account, your Facebook account, your LinkedIn business page, your Twitter account, whatever it is, you own it. That's your owned media. Then you have earned media. Now, this is kind of, for me, the secret sauce. It's kind of the platforms and the online spaces and online media and publications and influencers that you don't really have access to. You don't control the narrative on those platforms. These are people like bloggers and, for example, industry publications that might feature your work, and they might feature a blog that you've written, or they might feature and promote the event that you're running. So this is working with other organizations and collaborating with them so that your event and everything that you're doing is going to be taking place on earned media. And then lastly, you have paid media, and paid media is pretty much as it says and sounds. It's when you pay for promoting ads on Facebook or promote Instagram posts or Twitter. So it's kind of taking the ad campaign route in order to support and boost the numbers and the reach for your upcoming events. So now, those are all the tips to do with raising awareness. The second thing we're going to talk about is about driving engagement. So I'm just going to have a look to see that I'm saying the right things here, because engagement is probably the single most important thing right now in the virtual world, right? Everyone wants to know, how do I get more engagement at my events? Even hybrid events, and also really in-person events, although at in-person events it's a lot easier. So in order to drive engagement, once you've identified which platforms they are on, you need to understand the medium behaviors. So this is basically how your audience are using the platforms. And when you understand how they use the platforms, you will know what kind of content to create in order to get the best engagement from them and the users of the platform. So for example, you notice that Instagram is popular with your attendees and they really enjoy reels and stories and when you go live, as opposed to just feed posts. So this should definitely be the areas that you create more content for in order to get engagement. Number two, you can only get attendees to engage on your socials if you create content that allows them to take the action and engage. So putting in calls to action wherever possible is important. For example, asking questions, running polls, doing gamification style content like contests where they have to get involved. Now, this is where understanding the features of each of these platforms is useful. So you can identify the touch points where your audience can engage with your content. And you have to make it easy as well. Nobody likes click here, open a page, fill in a registration form, hit another page, sign up to this, and then you get access to that. No one wants that. So don't make it so difficult. Keep it simple. And I'm going to bring the influencers back into the picture now. Don't just use influencers to raise awareness. Use them in your event in a way that they can engage with the content that you're putting out there. Perhaps get them to host a Twitter chat or a Clubhouse chat or do an Instagram takeover. There's so many ways, but if you work with them, not just to promote, but also get involved, they can be a fantastic brand ambassador and event advocate for the long term. So always think about the long game. Then create specific activities that take place on your social media alongside the events, so people can get involved through the myriad of features that some social media platforms have. Encourage people to take pictures, post, and tag the event, but also make sure that those tags, now this is very, very important, and we often see at events that we have lots of gamification type things where you should do this, take a picture at the photo booth, share it with your friends, and all of this kind of stuff. But it doesn't actually get acknowledged, it doesn't get reposted, and it doesn't get reshared. So you want people to take the action, but you're not doing anything with it. Do something with it, make it count. All of that is user-generated content that you should be using. It is gold. Please, please, please use it. Now, the last point of engagement is get creative. Share creative visual content to engage your audiences across your social media channels. Find ways to personalize so that attendees can brand themselves at the event. People enjoy sharing their experiences. So allow for a way for this to happen, not just at the event, but also with your brand overall across your social media channels. User-generated content like video and audio testimonials, recommendations, what are they looking forward to, etc. There's so much tech available now for you to be able to integrate with your event. And certainly the Cadence Collective guys know a thing or two about that. So this is super duper important. Get creative, mix it up. People just don't want kind of, pre-edited, pre-filmed kind of perfection. They love a mix of authentic, behind the scenes kind of content as well as the pretty content. Mix it up, give people what they want, and they're going to engage with it more. And the last point, and the whole goal, is to build and nurture an engaged community that is excited to attend and really invest their energy, time, and presence to your event. That type of community does not happen overnight. But social media is a great way to build one. And here are some tips. Now, a community is when people exchange not just with the brand, but with each other in the community as well. You know, the backbone of a community is support. So make sure that the content that you're putting on your 365 marketing and communications plan and social media strategy overall isn't just information updates or point blank, get your tickets here, this is what's happening. It shouldn't just be a bulletin board. If your event is addressing key issues and topics, then these should be the content pillars for your social media content. You want to give value, start and be part of conversations. After all, it's social media, so you need to be social. So the content should be a mix of informational, educational, promotional, and entertainment. That's all the different kinds of value that you can provide through your content. And then depending on the event, you could throw in inspirational and motivational content too. Now, number two, if you interact with your community and audience over a longer time period before as well as after the event, then you're building the relationships that are going to increase the engagement at your event. Remember, you're not trying to grow followers. You're trying to make them fans of you and your brand and brand advocates. Fans, not followers. And allocate the resources required to building and managing the community and your socials. There has to be someone consistently monitoring and managing your socials before, during, and after your event. This is important. You do not want your socials to go wild and stay unmonitored whilst you're having your events. That could be quite scary and they could go rogue, and you don't want that happening. So always make sure you have someone that is looking out for that and monitoring and managing that activity. People know each other in a community. So in order to build one, you have to show up consistently on social media and interact with your audience and network so that in time, they will become part of your community. Consistency builds trust and also confidence in your brand and the events that you're going to be organizing. Hence my point about it being a long-term strategy and one that you set when you set your marketing and communications strategy. So that's pretty much it from me. I'm super duper excited to have given you some tips and hopefully you got some value from this session. I am probably the easiest person to connect with online and find online. You will find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Clubhouse, all with the same handle. If you want to reach out to me to have a further discussion on how social media can be the secret sauce for you, then please do so. And thank you so much to Cadence Collective for having me on their event. Take care, everyone.